We asked a few questions to people living in the Netherlands. So let's have a look, see what their answers are. Welcome in my office.
The first question we asked was, what was the hardest part about moving from South Africa to the Netherlands? Okay, and as you can probably think, a lot of responses were based around saying goodbye to family and friends, and not being able to see everyone. Like, a lot of the responses were really related to that. Someone else said dealing with the South African government efficiencies. That was exhausting.
Yeah, okay, that is actually something when you answer that type of question that you don't really think of that. But that's a valid one though.
Yeah,
That is
because I think we also had our cries about paying so much to get your
100%.
unabridged birth certificate, marriage certificate, the police clearance. That was another mission for me to go through.
If you want things to happen, you have to go through third parties, and I
Yeah,
think that is the system's wrong. So yeah,
exactly.
when you answer a question like that, you don't think of that, but that is like the hardest, I think.
And they know it because I feel
100%.
like they definitely capitalize on it, or like not capitalize but monetize it. I'm not exactly sure how to express what I'm trying to say, but people know that we are so desperate to get our documents, to get the processes in order, or to start the applications, or things like that. We cannot do anything without it. So what are you going to pay? You're going to pay 6,000-7,000 rand to get your documents expedited,
Yeah.
because waiting for it and following up is a very exhausting.
Wait for minimum a year,
Whew.
if you're lucky.
I mean, obviously, we spoke about it in our previous video, which, we spoke about the hardest part with family and friends saying goodbye, and that for sure I think is the hardest part. But I don't think we talk about the struggle of documentation enough. Someone else said not feeling confident in complex and simple processes. This will be with like paying tax, even down to simple things like grocery shopping or where to get certain things from. And I could really relate with this because I remember feeling very overwhelmed when we just came here. You don't know anything. You don't know how to do anything.
Imagine your first walk in a Lidl, where it's just still the boxes and
You think, what? It's giving ShopRite.
not
You
even.
save.
Yeah,
Yeah, and even like Kruidvat, you think like clicks and this game's so nice. You walk into Kruidvat and you're like, what is this? Although I
100%.
mustn't say it's the hardest part, but I can relate with the feeling of feeling confident. I don't know how you felt when you had to refill your car for the first time. Like,
Yeah, I think the first thing is you double check, is this now petrol, isn't it? Because petrol here in the Netherlands is benzina, so, and it's also tagged with green, so it looks the same everything, but you're not just as fluent as in South
yeah,
Africa of like fill it up 95 or whatever,
we
Now
take them for granted.
100%. Now you
Yeah.
have to stand there and yeah, you're not sure which what, and still you first need to swipe your card in there first, and then you can do a minimum or whatever. Maar yeah, that is nogal. It's a story.
Challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing I think was really hard for me in the beginning was I remember like Googling everything to try and figure out what the Dutch word for this was, and just to find like suurlemoensap. Now you have to Google what's suurlemoensap in Dutch. Now, okay, now you got it. It's lemoensap, which is like, no, citroensap.
Yeah.
It's citroensap. Now you have to figure out where's the citroensap, because usually in South Africa the citroensap or the lemon juice is with like the Oros and those type of things. Now you come here and every shop has it in a different spot.
Yeah.
It's like a stupid little thing, but I feel like this really made sense. Like, it's hard
Yeah.
adjusting and feeling confident in things that you could do with your eyes closed.
I mean, you know it yourself. Just going from one Jumbo to a Jumbo is already.
Yeah, difficult.
They don't stock it the same.
No,
So yeah.
it's wild. Okay, first world problems. Okay, number 2. What do you wish you knew before immigrating? Again, a lot of answers were really around adjusting, like how adjusting would be so hard, being without friends and family, being without a support system, and adjusting to that. That was quite like most of the answers. But I think a very interesting thing someone mentioned is how difficult it is to find a job if you come over as the partner. Because a lot of the times, the main person, in our case, it was the same, where you got the job, you got the job opportunity. I really struggled with that.
Yeah.
And I still don't really have like a solid career. It's something a lot of
Yeah.
people really struggle with. Yeah.
Yeah, I do feel that, yeah, that's a bit rough because I feel like in the job market, they're looking for someone that is 21 years of age, that has 3 degrees, and has to have 6 years of experience in that specific field.
Yeah.
And I do feel like that's
And
that's a bit
don't
harsh.
forget fluent met the pen.
Yeah, yeah, you have to be fluent Dutch in everything.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
even your jokes need to be Dutch humor. Otherwise, you're not gonna get the job, you know. And I do feel like, yeah, I think if there was one serious pain, it's that. You need to have a degree in
Yeah.
rocket science to be able to do anything.
And don't get me wrong, like obviously it's so easy to go to Albert Jumbo and get a job there. Like they really need people. They need people to do like those type of jobs. But I think for us to have experience in, say, for instance, marketing
Yeah.
or when you have certain experiences and you want a job in that space, it
In that
becomes
line, yeah.
extremely
Yeah, 100%.
difficult to find something that
I mean,
matches.
for argument's sake, it's like a teacher, you know.
Yeah.
So you can understand it like, okay, you're gonna deal with Dutch
Yeah.
kids. You have to have a certain degree of
Yeah.
Dutch fluency. I do think that is actually a topic that you can discuss way broadly, and yeah, I would actually like to get an expert opinion on it
Yeah.
because I do feel like it's a bit exaggerated.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously don't want to be ignorant because I understand that when you're in another country, you should learn the language, you should adjust to it. But I also believe that you should also be given a chance to grow within the position. So even if you cannot speak fluently Dutch, like giving me the opportunity, like I had in a Dutch company, to grow, that obviously would be amazing.
But they make the case in the interview that you're not fluently Dutch, or they do it on your
True.
CV. They
True.
don't even give you the opportunity
For
to
an
come.
interview,
Just
yeah.
come show us. Do a case study for us.
Yeah,
Let's see what
100%.
you capable. You don't even get that opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's where I say, like, that's where I
Yeah.
come from when I say it's a bit harsh, it's a bit cruel,
Yeah.
you know. Ma,
I think
mean,
we
yeah.
have a lot to discuss on that topic. I think we can forever speak about it because
Exactly.
I have a lot of experiences with that. A lot of other people have, as we have clearly seen with a few answers. But yeah, next one is also the housing situation. Even though we knew about it, I don't think we understood how hard it actually
No.
is.
No, you're never ready for it.
Yeah.
You can think you know and you can imagine, you don't understand.
You know, people often would say, "Oh, you guys are so lucky to have found this house." But it was definitely a journey. I mean, we've been here now you've been here 4 years. I've almost been 4 years. But like what we've been through with finding a home and trying to find a place from the apartment,
Yeah.
searching for 10 months just to get a viewing to a place.
Yeah.
And then also finding a home that was literally falling apart on the farm with all the other drama that came with it. To eventually finding this place, which was an absolute blessing.
Yeah,
It was a
this is
struggle.
this is a dream, man.
Yeah.
To be honest, and you know, with the housing struggle, let's call it a struggle. It to me it feels like I don't even want to consider a different house because I have this now, and this is everything I really want.
Yeah.
I would really eventually look at buying a place, but what will I get though? And
Yeah.
that is a big question, you know.
And then you have the other situation where people overbid,
100%.
like with 50,000 euros. Who has that type of money?
Exactly. You're gonna go into the market and you're
Yeah.
gonna look what you can buy and you're gonna get what you want in which budget, and then you're gonna go view a house, and if you're lucky, super lucky, you'll get an opportunity to get the house. But almost everywhere you have to carry around another 50,000 in your pocket because
Yeah.
their budget is way smaller, way bigger actually, but because the overbidding is out, then they come to your market. And unfortunately, the markets that we shop around in is
Middle class.
most of
Yeah.
the Netherlands are shopping in the same one.
Yeah.
And a lot of Dutch people I know has from a young age they have had to save. So they do have money to overbid. They do have the opportunity. So if you don't come with a bit of capital, it's super hard. And that's now the buying side. The renting side it's chaotic.
I think a lot of people, we always tell this to people and they'll be like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. But if they don't go through it themselves, they don't understand. It's literally
100%.
like the Hunger Games trying to find a home. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Which apparently is the same in certain parts of Australia already, I've heard, but okay. Unexpected expenses. Now, this person didn't really elaborate, but I could kind of relate to this because you think about the flight tickets and the visas and the this and the that. But when you think about all the unexpected expenses in the sense of back pay on your medical aid, waterskaprekeningen,
Waterskaprekening is a big one.
all those extra
Yeah.
things. What is it called again? The car, is it wegenbelasting?
Yeah, wegenbelasting
It's
on
like all
cars.
those extra things that it's great because we do see our tax money
Yeah.
goes for something, and that's amazing. However, when you get that bill,
But that's the thing. I mean, you budget with your with how things worked in SA, and you budget according to that. And now you get these unexpected, like the waterskap bill, or you get whatever. You know, there's so much. Like you budgeting to buy a car, and then like you say, you now suddenly, oh, what's wegenbelasting? Why am I paying that? And I mean, we've got awesome roads. We don't have toll gates on them. I think there's like one toll gate now in the Netherlands or something. But don't check me on that. I'm not sure. But our roads is perfect. So I do understand what wegenbelasting is. It goes about emissions and then obviously keeping everything good. You know? So I understand it, but it is an unexpected one if you're not prepared for it.
yeah, yeah. Okay, this one, I'm not sure if this was supposed to be a mean comment, but I felt this one. I felt it, yeah, because it said like, I think also this person means, no, I don't know how they meant it, but this is what they said. How much South Africans justify being here and how it consumes their identity. I was like, I know, because that's totally me or us. But I think it also, you have to constantly remind yourself of the sacrifices, why you are here. Because mentally, it's such a challenge, it's such a race we're running, like trying to survive it, trying to adapt. We've been here almost 4 years, but you do go back and you keep justifying why you're still staying here, even though you're missing family and all those sort of things.
100%, but I think we as people, we do that. I mean, when you were younger, for argument's sake, you were in one school and you moved to another school, you would always compare the schools. You know, it's like, okay, what do I have here that's better than there? You know, and you always had to justify, you know, and I think it's like, it's because we have one measure and now we have to try and measure up, because what are we doing here then? I mean, I have a saying, I didn't move 12,000 kilometers to be unhappy. That is, I mean, you know it.
You often say that to me.
You know it. Maar that's 100%. So I know where I was, standard, and if I don't even just come in line with that, if I want to go higher. So I think that's why I need to, you think like that.
But
And
that's also why we're
it's
working.
human nature, I think.
Yeah, but that's also why we're trying to work more on being content in where we are at now.
Yes.
Because it is a very South African thing to bigger house, bigger car, better this, better, like, it's like a very
Yeah.
typical South African thing. And in the lifestyle in the Netherlands is actually very plateau. Like in the sense of sometimes people will just live their life for
Yeah.
years and years, like it's quite like this. They're
I,
not bothered with like
I've heard an interesting conversation once. It was another podcast I watched, and it was about the Dutch tax system. And one guy made a comment, and he said, the Dutch tax system benefits you if you average. And that makes so much sense if you look at a lot of people how they live here. If you're in the middle class and you live a middle class life, the ta- the tax system benefits you in
yeah,
so many
true.
ways.
And have
It
kids
is
also.
it is with the South African mentality, like we live, like we need to
Yeah.
evolve, we need to be better
Work
every
full
day.
time.
Yeah.
Where people here
Then
choose to work three times a week
yeah.
because they just feel like that's better work life balance.
Then you actually work a bit against the system, if I can
Yeah.
call it like that. So yeah, I mean,
So interesting. Okay, the third question we asked was, what is your craziest or worst immigration experience? And I think this is also in a whole, like
yeah,
being here or while you're moving here, and. Obviously, we discussed houses earlier. So we had
yeah,
someone saying buying a house, and then someone comes and they bid like 50K more, which you cannot compete with. This was quite interesting because I've seen a lot of South Africans be a victim of crime in the Netherlands. Our e-bikes, our new e-bikes, got stolen from access controlled NS fietstal. We literally just had to open a police case for insurance, and then the police closed it. No investigation.
sure.
Um, why I wanted to talk about this was I think this was one of the first things when we did research on the Netherlands that we found that the biggest crime or one of the biggest crimes are really bike theft. And I think a lot of Dutch people will tell you not to buy a new bike. Like you have two bikes, you have your cheap bar fiets and you have your nice fiets, which you basically only have if you can really like lock it away.
And you have to buy a proper lock for that bicycle.
Yeah. Unfortunately, uh, what can I say? South Africans get their bikes stolen.
But let's all be honest, you know, and yeah, talk about the elephant in the room, if you will. You do get crime. Which country do you not get
Yeah.
crime? I think moving to a place and think you will not be a victim of some sort of crime.
It's being the Lulu.
Yeah. So, but I think it is. Yeah, it's hard when your bike gets stolen,
100%.
especially if you've got an e-bike, expensive e-bike. But then again, the guy you bought the bike from, he told you have to insure that bike. They had insurance, which is
Luckily.
100%.
Yeah.
But then you already know, chances are they're going to scale my feet,
Yeah.
you know? So it does happen, 100%.
I think just one thing, and not with a specific person who ever commented this. I'm really sorry for their loss,
Yeah.
of course. I know that it sucks. But one thing that annoyed me a lot when I visited South Africa, I watched the show called Koila of South Africans who actually moved back from the Netherlands back to South Africa. But they were very negative about the Netherlands. Like the things that they brought up were in a very negative light, but also for me, it's really like small, dumb things that they brought up, which isn't really that big of a deal breaker.
Yeah, but
they,
nitpicking.
yeah, but they made it almost sound like the Netherlands is really like this horrible place. And something they said was they were like, we've never been a victim of crime in South Africa, and within the first week our bike got stolen. But I also think that South Africans know we are crime savvy. Like we know not to walk on this street at this time or not to go into certain places or not to do certain things because we understand when we are in danger or not. We know not to have our handbag on our lap when you're driving in the car because it's a high alert for smash and
100%.
grab. Whereas when you come to the Netherlands, there's a lot of those things that you don't have to practice anymore because it is much safer.
100%.
So using that analogy, I feel
Yeah.
it was not really fair.
No, because you also grades of crime, if I can call it
Yeah.
that. I mean, your bike wasn't stolen in South Africa because you stayed in estate number 1, or you didn't buy a bike because you were scared it's going to get stolen.
Yeah,
So,
true.
if you want to compare apples with apples, then do it. I think a bicycle would be stolen here way faster than in South Africa, to be
Yeah.
honest. Crime, it's a difficult subject
Yeah,
because
very difficult.
it's like comparing the euro and the rand, you know?
And also I just want to make it clear also that everyone's experiences are different. Like these people, perhaps they said they were never victims of crime in South Africa. Great that they're part of that percentage who never
Yeah,
had to experience things like
100%.
that. But I know of so many people who were victims of crime. And then I'm not just talking about a smash and grab and a handbag grab on
Yeah,
the road. I'm talking about attacks
exactly.
and home burglaries and things that got really violent. So comparing that with a bike getting stolen, I feel
100%.
is not a
I
fair.
I remember a statistic when we before we decided to move. It was a statistic I read about the Golf 7R. The Golf 7R was more hijacked than sold in South Africa. So, in essence, what it meant is if you drove a Golf 7R, you were hijacked 1.5 times, almost 1.5 times
That's hectic.
in the time you had the car. So, if you were the guy that wasn't hijacked once in your Golf 7R, you must know the other guy that you saw at the robot, he was hijacked twice.
Yo.
You know? So, it's like, yeah, you can talk about crime all day, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I feel way safer here, to
Yeah.
be quite honest.
Yeah. And we all have our opinions on that, which
Yeah.
we've just discussed. So this one, okay, the hygiene on trains. People are popping each other's pimples on the train. They eat
No,
and
man.
leave their food everywhere. And it's definitely that there isn't free public toilets. Even when I pay for it, it smells worse than the petrol station bathrooms I
Yeah.
used in South Africa.
We are spoiled in that way.
Yeah.
Well, not spoiled. We are privileged. Let's call it privileged.
No,
Because we have access to good public toilets in South Africa.
rather say that we take it for granted.
We do take it for granted, 100%. But I mean, you can stop next to the highway and you can just pop into the bathrooms, restrooms, and it's always neat and tidy.
When
you
you're in
know?
the mall, there's always a bathroom to
100%.
use.
Yeah, you have to pay minimum 70 cents to use it, and then it's still dirty.
Yeah, that's like 14 Rand for
Yeah.
South Africans who don't know. That's a lot. And then sometimes the person before you left it like
Yeah.
filthy, and then
Yeah.
you just paid 14 Rand, you'll never get that
To
money
get
back.
another guy's bomb.
Yeah, I know.
It's
To
bad.
get another guy's bomb.
But it's bad, you know.
A lot we can say about that. But again,
Credit to South Africans.
yeah. 4. What made you finally decide to leave South Africa? I think most of the questions or answers we got were a better opportunity for me and my family and safety.
Yeah.
Not just for me, but especially for my children. And this, when I read this, I thought about how shocked I was when we were in Yumbo and I saw the little kids just sitting there on the
Yeah.
little chairs playing alone while mom and dad is shopping. Like, you would never have that in South Africa.
No.
That really shocked me, and it just made me realize again how much safer children are actually here. They really have a life here, especially in the area that we live. We often see the kids play outside,
Yeah.
Playing on their bikes or just running around, and it's something that we didn't really have that much growing
No,
up.
and on that, I mean, it's not like we're staying in a Boomdorf area or anything, you know. We're staying on normal municipal grounds, you know. So it's normal public roads. And we see kids coming past here all the time, you know. And I think when it comes to family safety, it should be on a lot of people's radar. I mean, it is just like that.
Obviously, some people also said that they got an opportunity for work and decided to take it and see what life is
Yeah.
like abroad. A lot of people also said the work-life balance. Not. Yeah, I know of some people who work in the mining industry in South Africa who work like 90 hours a
Yeah.
week or something crazy like that, where they never see their family. So for a lot of people, that was also kind of the reason. And then I was sick and tired of load shedding, which I can 100%
Valid.
understand
Yeah.
because, okay, if you could go back, right? If you could go back in time and you were still in South Africa, um, would you still make the move? And I think I got a lot of mixed responses here because people were saying 100% yes, I feel much safer, I've never felt this safe before. 100% yes, my kids are doing great, they have a great future ahead of them. Some were feeling really unsure because of the family and friends,
Yeah.
missing birthdays, holidays,
Yeah.
things like that was really hard. And some said that they would not move if crime was much better. Like if the level of crime was much low in South Africa, they probably wouldn't have moved here.
Yeah. That's that is serious. I mean, yeah, crime obviously is one thing, but in my opinion, there's a combination of things. If you look seriously at the circumstance of how things are, you sit with 35% unemployment of a population of 65 million. I'm just spitballing numbers here, but I'm fairly on point though, I think. But if you think of that, then there is one thing to look at. Crime 100%. Another thing to look at. Work-life balance 100%. I mean, take a guy in the mine that you just said. Let's say he works 80 hours a week. That's double a normal guy does. You know? For him to come here, he will get bored in his job. But he will have a work-life balance. He will have time with his family. He will have time to play with his kids, you know. So when you measure all those things, I mean, South Africa is an amazing place. We love it there. And I mean, we spoke about our journey, why we came. And also, I mean, we said one of the hardest parts is leaving family and that behind, you know, friends. Just our way of life. Because you can't fully live it out here. I mean, because we're all doing it solo.
And we have to adjust to Dutch culture and
100%.
Dutch way of life.
Yeah.
You can't just come here and live the South African life, yeah.
Yeah. So with that, everything like that, if you had to ask me, if I had to go back and do it again, I would 100% say I'll do it again.
Yeah. It's very hard getting a question like this because everyone's at a different stage and of the whole immigration process. You know, you have the honeymoon phase where everything feels amazing and you just like, this is like the best thing ever. This life is so amazing. I feel so safe. Da, 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 da. And then that wears off and you start getting into working groove and you miss the first birthdays and you miss the first Christmas and maybe you get to go back home, which is an amazing blessing, but then you have to say goodbye a second time, which we've said has been the worst.
Yeah.
And so you're constantly going through your mental health is really taking a toll because you're constantly having to go through the process over and over again with missing family, seeing them, saying goodbye again, missing birthdays, da, da, da. So I think at times we felt like we want to go back, and then there's times where you feel like, no, we don't want to go back. And then you think like, okay, but what if we go for 6 months and we, like, you keep on rethinking and reevaluating where you're at in your life. And I think that makes it definitely a mental challenge of note.
100%.
So, which is probably why we got mixed responses. How do your friends and family feel about you leaving South Africa? So, almost everyone had the same answer, with people, of course, being extremely sad and struggling with coming to terms with it, but 100% supportive and happy for them.
It became part of our living, you know, that people move abroad, people move away. And it's sad to say. I mean, we're sitting in exactly that boat. We're sitting here, but it's sad to say that we evolved so far that we are let's call it now a traveling nation. You know, I think people do accept and people do support 100%, but it doesn't make it easier. Still,
No.
that's the thing.
I think it would have been much harder if you had parents or people who didn't support it.
Yeah.
That would have been
Yeah, I
really
think
tough, yo.
that would be super hard.
Which
I
I'm
don't
sure
think
some
how
people have.
I don't
Yeah.
think I don't know how you would in a nice way jump the ship if you
Yeah.
don't have that type of support, because mentally it will just
Oh,
because you need all the support you can have to be
yeah.
able to do this. That's the way I feel. That's my opinion. Luckily, we had our support
Yeah.
structure, but you need 100% support, and otherwise things are getting tougher.
I think this person, I just want to read what they said. They said, it's bittersweet. They are proud of us and understand why we left, but it doesn't make the distance any easier. There's a constant ache when I think about missing birthdays, milestones, and everyday moments. But knowing I can always visit and that they're rooting for us from afar keeps me grounded. Their love and support are a reminder that no matter how far I go, I'm never really alone.
Yeah, that's perfect. That sums it up
That
perfectly.
sums it up
Yeah.
perfectly, yeah. Okay, if you could bring one South African thing to the Netherlands, what would it be? I mean, obviously, a lot of people also mention things like my mom, my sister, my brother, my family, my friends, which I think we've been having those discussions almost every week. Like, I wish our parents or
Yeah.
family could be here. But so a few people said affordable meat from South Africa, which I 100% understand. But luckily, we've also cheated the code. We've
Yeah.
got the cheat code.
I must say
now.
red meat, affordable red meat, but I must say the last time we were in South Africa, red meat wasn't that cheap either anymore.
True, very true. But yeah, obviously, we also discovered that buying from any Turkish butchers,
Yeah.
you actually do get like much nicer meat than what you'd get at like the supermarkets.
Yes.
So yeah, if people
And
just
they're
like
cheaper than a general Dutch.
yeah, and you get nice fillet steaks, nice sirloins, ribeyes. Like there's really a lot of options, so that helps. But yeah, not the affordable type, if you could call it that way. Some people also said Woolies, which I obviously get. You know, obviously I do miss some things about Woolies, but when I was in South Africa now in September, I was annoyed with Woolies not having some of the things that I get. Yeah.
Yeah, you see.
So it's like I want my bread buttered on both sides.
Yeah.
Savannah Light. Medication, obviously a lot of people mention things like Myprodol, Sonitabs, Grandpas, things like that. Someone said my nail tech.
I have a super good one though, I think. I think Southern Hemisphere rugby clashes.
Stop
like
it.
The All Blacks against the Springboks.
I was gonna get
Australia
there.
against the All Blacks or Australia against South Africa. Even Argentina. If we can have that, like, I like the Northern rugby, but our heart is south
Yeah.
in that way, you know?
So that was actually the last one I was going to mention. So I said nail tech, which I understand because like I miss my nail tech. She was also my friend. I miss my hairdresser. She was also my friend. Yeah, in the Netherlands you kind of have to choose one thing. You can't do everything because it's so expensive. Cheap takeaways, which I can 100% relate to. And then like the rugby culture and vibe.
Yeah.
Because in the Netherlands, rugby is not really a massive sport that people support. There's obviously some clubs all over, people playing and stuff like that.
Even
But
you get like the Amsterdam Sevens, that's a big jaw, but it's
Yeah.
still not, it doesn't even, I must be careful how I say it, because it doesn't even live up to the standards of the Cape Town Tens.
Yeah.
So then I'm not even talking about the sevens, the big World Tour sevens or anything. You know, if we could have that, yeah, it's massive.
I
But I mean, it's
remember-
because I mean, we love rugby, so that's why.
100%. It's like in our DNA, and it's just, it was the worst thing for me when it was World Rugby Cup. We were doing so well. I would go to work so excited to talk about rugby, and everyone's just like, okay.
Yeah, rugby. Okay. Yeah.
Like they don't share the sentiment
Yeah.
of like rugby and like the Springboks, and just like, yeah, it was just very a proud moment to be South Africa, but no one cared,
Yeah. Yeah,
which was tough.
they don't share the same sentiment.
One person said, as the Dutch would say, gezelligheid. There's something about the atmosphere you have when you're in South Africa and around South Africans. That is something I miss dearly, and I wish I could have here. I often tell you, like, I just miss that feeling of
Yeah.
feeling home, and I just
Miss
never
our
feel
people.
home
Yeah.
here.
It is like that.
It's weird, but yeah. What's one thing you miss the most about South Africa that the Netherlands just can't replace? Again, family and
Yeah.
friends. A lekker sokkie dance and sense of belonging, which we also kind of just
Yeah.
discussed.
Yeah, we hit all those. Just not the soccer part. But
Yeah.
I mean, I remember there was Kwaggas Rugby. They had a few times. They had also with the prize. They had prize leading up to the Amsterdam sevens. They would have like soccer and braai afterwards, and there you have a bit of sense of belonging, because you're in between South Africans. So that's why. But yeah, it would be nice if we could have a small piece of Bosveld with lekker
Yeah.
Afrikaans music, and we can just have a blast
Yeah.
and burn as much wood as we like, you know. But
Yeah, and I think like a lot of people will say, oh, but you can buy products at these spends, which we get.
yeah,
But it's about going into the nearest shop and just getting the products that you want.
yeah,
Or, yeah, like you say, people do make the effort to create groups or certain events, but like effort has to be made for
yeah.
it. Where in South Africa, you can just go to the closest bar where they'll have the rugby on, and you'll be surrounded with people you know, and it will already be there. Like, it's not effort to create that atmosphere.
And if you go to a bar and you don't even know the people there, it won't take long, then you know them.
Yeah,
And yeah,
true.
it's not like that. People tend to stick to their own bubbles.
Yeah, kind of,
So,
yeah. So, lastly, I asked them to tell me anything they want. It can either be an experience, a feeling, a story, something like that. Yeah, this was quite sweet. Like, just keep your head up. You've got this. Okay. We are glad we made the move. Yeah, it is hard sometimes, but that's okay. Then someone also said, I'm patiently waiting for this move to be everything we hoped it would be. And I feel like while waiting, I'm losing a bit of my shine every single day. Which is really sad, but I could also relate to it because you saw me also go through some of the hardest times in my life, trying to deal with the isolation and the feeling of being lonely and the honeymoon phase kind of wearing off and all of those things, you know.
I think the journey is a bit like the Dutch weather, you know. It's like
Yeah,
most of the time you think of, you know, it's rainy. You think of justifying why you moved. You
Yeah.
always have to motivate and everything like that. And you get your days where it's super cold and wet, and that's the days where you see your shine go away because we've been through it for 2 weeks, you know. But then, like now, people can't see, but it's super great weather. We had 2 weeks of super weather, you know. I think this weather is borderline perfect because it's not super hot, but it's not cold.
yeah, it's perfect.
But that's the thing. If it just embrace those 2 weeks of nonsense, because your shine does come back. And you know what? We've been to town yesterday, and if you can see the happiness in all the people, so that's the thing. Stick and hold on to your sunshine,
Yeah.
because when it comes out, it's the best.
100%.
And that is what we've seen with the weather, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
Just push through, just keep going. I mean, if we all of us need to constantly motivate ourselves of what are we busy with, what are we
Yeah.
doing. But you know what, I still believe, and I firmly believe, and that's why I said 100% yes, I'll do it again, is that we are on a hard journey, but it's so worth it. It's super.
100%.
It's
Yeah.
really, it's nice.
Yeah, and I think, again, if we try and accept the fact that it's not going to go smooth sailing the whole time, because life is not like that. You win some, you lose some, but I think the losses feel so much harder because you have these expectations as well. But once you make peace with that and you kind of just live in the moment, enjoy the successes, enjoy buying a new house or getting a new car or starting a new job, enjoy those, but also kind of embrace the sad parts and the parts where you miss family, and then you'll actually be okay.
It is normal.
Yeah.
All of us go through it. So 100%. Celebrate the small things and push through the others.
So when obviously went through that really bad patch, and I worked with that therapist, and she told me to also be vulnerable with my parents, our family, when we have video calls. That was a very big win for me, because I also used to put up this front about everything's perfect, everything's going okay, we're living this great life, we good. But it's okay to sometimes be vulnerable and be like, oh, this is hard, I'm having a breakdown, I'm missing
100%.
and like you say, just push through those, and then we'll get on the other side. So I think I kind of just want to end with this last answer someone gave. They said, also, I just wanted to say, when I speak about the quality of life here, that can be different for everyone. Like for me and my husband at this stage of life, certain things hold more weight when we look at the pros and cons of moving and even staying. Now that we have experienced it for a few years, different things will matter more or less to some people, like the weather or the safety. For us, going back would be a big compromise now, but who knows if later that might change.
See, that's on point.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't say it better.
And
In this point of time, it works, it fits, it's right.
And for everyone, that's different. Yeah.
If you guys like this video and you enjoy the content that we're discussing here, please hit that subscribe button and hit the bell icon so that you can be notified of hopefully each week we share you another one.
We also have a community on TikTok which you can follow, and would love to know your opinions on any of these answers or questions that we had today. So make sure to leave a comment. It's obviously open for discussion. So yeah, until next week, I guess we'll chat soon.